All right, so one thing we like to do when we gather all our community together is share the thoughts of the executive team and let us kind of tell you how we all fit in and what we do. And a lot of times people are here for the first time and they've seen pictures at the 3-day class, or they've been on a call and they see Charles or Bob or Ryan or Susan or Martha, but they don't really know exactly how that all kind of fits in and everything. So what I thought we'd first do is you guys introduce yourselves, kind of tell them what you do, what your responsibilities are as far as at the office and stuff. And then I've got some questions. Remember this morning when we started, I said we took the survey and what we didn't build general sessions around, we're going to try and discuss. And obviously, whoever it pertains to will elaborate a little bit more on that. And then Eddie and I have a couple topics at the end that we're gonna go over with you guys before we take our break at 3 o'clock. So we'll just start here immediately to my left. He knows he gets to go first if he sits there. So we're gonna start there. And most of you have probably, if you ever heard Eddie talk or whatever, you heard Ryan. You've heard of Ryan or whatever. Well, this is Ryan Parson. Ryan, you're part of our team. Fill everybody in, because I'd really like to know, what do you do all day?
Well, I start off in a motor home all day long and travel around, Bob, just in case you forgot what I do on a daily basis. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm Ryan Parson. I've been a part of NoteSchool now for almost 10 years is how I got my start here. But as this progressed today, I work as far as with Colonial Capital Management, primarily responsible for raising the capital on our capital management side, and oversee the entire investor relations department for the company, in addition to creating very strategic business alliances for the company in both the wealth management and some more higher level vehicles that we help to manage money in for our clients. So that's my primary role with Colonial today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charles Mangan. I know a lot of y'all. My primary responsibility is to oversee the management of all the assets that we acquire through our capital fund. Those assets that you see on Notes Direct, well, I manage those behind the scenes. So that's pretty much my primary focus all day long.
Hello, I'm Susan Delagarza. I think I got to meet most of you as you checked in. I spent most of my time working on NoteSchool, whether it's the 3 days or the travel that we do all across the United States, and then, of course, Summer Summit and NoteExpo. I also love title. I have a passion for it, so I review, with the help of Nathan, all the title on all the deals that we buy and all the curative work that goes into those.
Good afternoon. I'm Martha Speed, and I basically oversee and buy assets and then use the partial model in 7 retirement accounts.
As well as our company 401k.
As well as our company 401k, that's correct.
Awesome.
So with a lot of help from these guys. So that's what I do, yeah, and work with investors. And then, we use that model, and we basically, it's this one thing that I want to say about it, and that Jeff Watson says, is you need to get something that's cookie cutter and really just do a lot of the same thing over and over. Yeah, makes it easy for you.
I think any of you that have obviously been to 3-day classes, you've been to the events, Eddie's always telling you that we're actually in the business. We actually do the business. We have a capital fund. We raise capital. We own large portfolio funds, 2 of them, that Charles manages. We don't buy any of those without Susan and her team conducting due diligence. Martha, it's not just math on the board that Eddie does. She takes those strategies and applies them and grows our wealth in our 401k in their retirement accounts, their kids' retirement accounts, and now their grandkids' retirement account. Everybody knows what Eddie does, but Eddie, why don't you just kind of brief background or how we kind of fit in, and then I'll...
if I were guessing, I probably spend about 70% of my time in NoteSchool. And the reason I can do that is because I have an executive team that has bought $3+ billion in notes. Right? They don't need daily managing. I don't have a list. I couldn't tell you the assets we bought in the last month. I don't know the assets that Martha bought. I don't know the assets that Bob bought. I don't know the assets that Charles is managing. I don't know that at a granular level. In my situation, I progressed to the point where I could hire people with an excessive background in the business, and that allows me to go be a business owner. Ryan, Bob, all of us deal with at the executive level of the fund and how we swing things and various things like that. So it's not that I'm completely oblivious of what's happening in our business otherwise. It's just the same thing as somebody asking me what's on the NoteSchool membership site, like how to go find it. Well, if all those guys would laugh and say, Eddie has no idea how to go find it, right? And really the truth of the matter is I shouldn't go find it because, you know, if I'm looking on the next horizon for a deal, then as long as we got plenty of competent staff. I was going to make a comment about Susan. Susan oversees a significant amount of the curriculum that is placed on the site. Susan knows as much about this business as I know. And so Susan frees me up to go look on the next horizon because the content we're putting on there, Susan knows to be industry accurate. And so that's really important to us. So that just sort of, you know, how we do it. And if you kind of knew me well, you would know that, you know, I like having a team, and I think I have something that I'm pretty good at, but I think they have something that they're really great at. And that's really how it works together.
And also, Susan has worked for Eddie for 26 years.
26 years.
So she's at the beginning of NoteSchool, at the beginning of Colonial, so she's been able to go through that. And Martha's been married to him for 38 years, right? So, I mean, that's 60 years between the two of them. I mean, so that's
I was
awesome.
I was 6'7" when I started.
And I'm the managing director of the three Colonial family companies, Colonial Funding Group, NoteSchool, and Colonial Capital Management. I spent a lot of time just overseeing the operations, trying to make sure that we're getting the return that we need both for NoteSchool, Colonial Funding Group, and Colonial Capital Management. I manage the acquisition for our Colonial Fund, the assets we're buying, as well as some of the one-off trades that come across our trade desk. So my time is probably split between the three, probably not evenly. It just depends on what our focus is. Right now my focus is on the capital fund, wrapping up the end of the year, as well as helping Susan and Eddie with NoteSchool, making sure we're going to certain markets and we're making a profit when we go there. So I keep my eye on the P&L. So when we named this session, we called it scatter shooting. And I don't think anybody on this panel really knew what I was talking about when we called it scatter shooting. Anybody familiar with the term scatter shooting?
Oh, a few.
Really? Just a couple? All right, it's just basically when we're up here talking about random things that may not necessarily have anything to do with one another. It's kind of like chasing squirrels. Does that sound familiar? Okay. So, you know, we're going to talk about this, and the next thing we talk about may not have anything to do with that. So we're just going to kind of randomly go through things, which I thought was an awesome image of scatter shooting there. Notice how nobody hit the bullseye.
Exactly.
Right?
I did notice that.
Right, so that was good. All right, so let me start. I wrote down a few notes just to make sure we have this here. I want to start off by something you kind of touched earlier today, Eddie, but as I said, my job is to keep an eye on the operations, and one thing that we've decided is we have a goal moving into 2020 to better monetize our trade desk and Notes Direct. Okay,
Yeah.
we want to, it provides a great service for our members. It's out there in the marketplace. It's been out there long enough to have a great brand name, but we need to figure out a way to better monetize both our trade desk and Notes Direct. So what do I mean by that? You guys have heard a lot from Eddie, not only today and after this panel you'll hear more, but talking to these real estate investors who spend all this money getting leads and they're sitting on 8,000 dead leads, or they're paying $9,000 for every converted lead. Well, we have a very similar situation on our trade desk. We get hundreds of deals come across our desk in a week, and we put prices on them, and we sign up a very low percentage of them. Okay, so there's deals there that may not fit our exact capital stack. All right, so we have, you know, we only have so much capital. We have our fund, we have retirement accounts, we have our company 401k, and there's some private money that we can reach out to or whatever. But there's still hundreds, and they're not all cookie cutter, unfortunately, as Martha knows. They're not all, you know, 50,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick. We get 80 acres here. I think Larry and Mariska sent us an equestrian property, and we got all kinds. But there's people out there that we know would be interested. So one of our goals is to figure out a way how we can get those deals to make us money that we're generating, that are coming across our desk or that are on Notes Direct. So a couple things, and I want you to kind of take it from there, and then I'll get some of these guys to kind of chime in as far as how that would impact them. But first of all, in the next 2 days, NoteSchool and Notes Direct will have a booth in the vendor hall, okay? If you're interested in seeing product outside of Notes Direct, okay, then I want you to go to the booth, put your name on the list, and set up an appointment with Scott Tyler. He'll take point on that, and we'll figure out after the event how that's going to look, okay? It'll be, quote unquote, a survey. How much money do you have? What are you looking for? Just so we have like an investor database that we don't want to tie our capital up in, but we have a good deal that we think fits your needs, right? And I mean, I know a lot of you guys and where you're at, so I know if I see a deal that's in Indianapolis, I got 3 guys that I can call there and see if they're interested in. Or if there's a unique property in the western slope of Colorado, Ryan, what do you know over there? So we can build off of that. And to piggyback on the recapitalization of your portfolio, you guys as NoteSchool members, if you have loans that you want to sell, you can post them on Notes Direct to sell. There's a process. You got to get them vetted. We got to make sure you have them all in your name and et cetera. But you can use the Notes Direct platform, okay? So Susan and her team, when we have a third party, we underwrite those just like we do if we were buying them, right? Absolutely. And some of you guys have bought loans from third parties. Some of you bought from other students. Some of you have bought from other capital funds. Just keep in mind, every seller is not Colonial, so everybody's got their own little quirk. They'll do things differently, and Angie and Nathan and Scott will help smooth that over and set your proper expectations. But some of the thought process, Eddie, about, okay, Bob, we got to figure out a way to monetize and make some money off of this trade desk and Notes Direct, because it's not cheap to have those operations, and it's not good to have all that potential income sitting there that we're not getting a piece of.
Well, and I alluded to that this morning, right? You know, just because a deal doesn't fit a full purchase, right? A seller walks in the door of our office, a note seller, and they've written a loan at 2% interest, amortized over 25 years. Run that in a calculator. What kind of offer are we going to be able to make them on a full note? 55 cents on the dollar? 50 cents on the dollar? So how many people are unlikely to take that price? Most, right? So that means we got to back up and do a partial, right? So we're going to buy 7 years or in a renewal after 7 or whatever the case may be. And Scott has the potential of recarving that deal, but that doesn't necessarily, Ryan, fit at this point our capital fund, right? It's not that it doesn't make a ton of sense and we don't get it. It's just it doesn't quite fit our capital fund. Well, it may not fit Martha's box. It doesn't mean it's a bad loan. There's nothing wrong with it. It needs to get traded differently. And so Scott is aggressively trying to figure out like how he can work with that broker to get that deal closed, to get the customer to the yes, and at the same time, then he's going to be working with an investor that our trade desk can make a trade to, and that's exactly what we want him you to be able to talk to him about during NoteExpo, is to talk specifically about that. And so, listen, we understand that if you're an investor and you're going to be buying notes, you got to be buying notes that make sense, right? I think we get that part. And so just kind of trust us, if you will. If you go on that list, we're going to try to send you something that makes sense. It's going to be out of the box, right? You can about bet on the fact that it's not going to be Manila, it's going to be something else, but it's going to be a make sense deal. So that's why we're saying that seller financing by its very nature is kind of unique. It's homemade. It's not very homogeneous, and so we're trying to go, get a lot of that inventory to come out. Martha and I, in a partnership that I had many years ago with a guy named Joe Davis, Martha and I did a ton of deals, and none of them were normal, right? Every one of them was weird.
As a matter of fact, I don't know I don't know if that's on or not. Most of them were calls. There were things that we could not sell to an institution, and so we would reprice them and buy them at our, a lower price, and we held them. There was a lot of asset management, a lot of collections, but we made a lot of money on them.
Yep. So that's exactly what the kind of thing that we're going to introduce to you guys, and there'll be opportunity along the way. So we're trying to to do this and have as many guys as we have, and obviously twice this many that just can't ever come to every event. We got to scale it, but we're trying to scale it in a way that we can still show you something innovative and creative and that type of thing. So that's a specific use that you'll be able to sit down and talk to Scott while he's here, and then make sure at least we get on the list, and then as we send you a survey back, you'll get a better sense of what that looks like. Quite a long survey we're building there, Mr. Moore, you know what I mean?
I'm on it.
Yeah.
So just by a show of hands, who would be interested in buying a parcel? We have any partial buyers out there? How many people out there have customers that would be interested in buying a partial? All right, the only word of caution I want to put on that is just remember, right, we're monetizing our desk, so we're going to get a fee out of this deal, and we're not creating broker daisy chains. So if you have an investor, it has to be this guy, the one right next to you, not Martha, 3 people down, and everybody in between is getting a fee, okay? So let's just set that proper expectation. But Martha, did you get everybody's hands?
Well,
Right?
I saw some hands go
Right?
up, but would you please
Martha's
email me?
Martha
It's
is
Teresa,
always
Martha
looking.
at noteschool.com. Yeah.
That's it. Martha's always looking for somebody to buy partials. So she can help you, tell her exactly what do you want, and she will help you find it good.
Right.
Ryan,
and
I'm going to
and
start.
the trade desk side that Scott would do, it's not necessarily a Martha asset. It's just something that otherwise is the case. And I don't want to set too much of an expectation here, but the yield could be fairly good. Right? So
6.5.
just keep that in mind.
Ryan, had some people ask in the survey, is there any opportunities as far as commercial notes?
So the commercial space, when we talk about it, has to do with something other than a single-family residential property, which is what NoteSchool is primarily focused on. And so commercial could be something from a commercial office building to a commercial retail space to a multifamily apartment complex, and then all different, maybe more really unique, like warehouses, manufacturing facilities. Just think of commercial as anything non-single family residential property. And so with that space on both performing commercial loans and non-performing commercial loans, there does exist an inventory out there. There's probably not, particularly in the non-performing commercial loan space, that's a massive volume, but it does exist. And we have markets. One of the clients just had a New Jersey asset. So right next door in New York, we've got longtime friends in that marketplace that are absolutely crushing it with non-performing commercial loan assets. And so they do very well exist, Bob, and some of that too. We've always talked about real estate being a local investor's game. The commercial side of it definitely seems to be resounding that today. With where we've come, even from 10 years now, Eddie, since I've been with you, that was, performing loans on the resi side were still a local. Technology has really advanced that. It doesn't seem like, Bob, technology from an acquisition sourcing standpoint exists in the commercial space like it does the resi space. So those of you that have those really solid relationships, another client was talking about relationships that I think Richard, you were talking about it with all your realtors, that you've had a long time standing relationship. That's what I'm talking about in the commercial space. If you're looking for those and wanting to find those, is how you would go about doing that. So I would say, Bob, it's available. It's not as readily as accessible unless you have those really pertinent relationships in place.
And let me just add one other segment of the commercial market. Seller finance commercial deals, okay? Seller finance is usually done when or a borrower is unbankable, okay? And what that means is the borrower can't go borrow money at a bank on that particular property. And there could be several reasons. Maybe it's just too small. Banks don't like to make $200,000 loans on a property, right? Maybe it's unique, as you were mentioning. And believe me, a warehouse is not unique compared to what some of this we see on the seller finance side. It's more like a tavern, or it's more like a funeral home. We even see churches, right? I mean, so there's things that you can't readily obtain traditional financing for that become seller finance. And to Ryan's point, those are perfect for somebody that you know in that market. Whenever Scott brings me a deal that's, we'll just call the property a little unique, I immediately think, who do I know in that area or whatever? Because if I find a deal that's in Phoenix, and it happens to be in the outskirts of Phoenix, and maybe it's kind of a restaurant type place, then, you know, I'll think, well, who do we know in Phoenix? Because if they don't want it, they probably know people in that area, that investor, that can do it, and we could both make a good fee on that. So you will have unique. You're not going to find your great big office building that's, you know, throwing off triple net leases and all that kind of stuff on the seller finance side. But there are some good plays in that $100,000 to $300,000 UPB ranges on some good seller finance. So that's another thing to talk to Scott about.
You know, I'll just add to that. And one of the funds in our family of funds, we did a loan with that where we used commercial property, a series of commercial property, like you talk about, Eddie, cross-collateralization.
Yep.
Where we originated a loan and cross-collateralized it to, what, about a 40% loan-to-value ratio, but over commercial properties. One of our borrowers had a series of commercial properties. So while on the surface you might look at that piece of collateral and go, that doesn't quite fit, it's a tavern, it's a funeral home or something, but you see a series of really good valuable assets and cross-collateralize it that way, there are those types of deals that are very much out there.
Eddie, I'm going to let you and Susan kind of tag team on this, because Susan, believe it or not, does spend a lot of her time on the marketing arm. Some questions about direct mail versus social media. What is Facebook ads? What is Google? What is retargeting? A lot of people don't know what they should do from a marketing perspective. And not that we ever talk about marketing. But, you know, you started out your slides this morning about old school direct mail, and we talk all the time about internet marketing. Just quick 2-3 minutes on, you know, what you guys see as far as marketing opportunities for our students, how they could best leverage what they've got?
Well, Susan oversees pretty much operationally most all of NoteSchool. And so one of the things that Susan handles a lot of is a lot of marketing. Susan has either contractors or direct employees, about 7 employees that do nothing but various things relative to the operations of NoteSchool. Not Ben, Joe, Derek, not those guys, but more like, how do we make our phone ring? How do we keep, you know, in front of customers? Susan, you learned a lot about social media and other forms of marketing other than just direct mail. And just talk a little bit about, you know, like what you see as a trend. You just went to Reunion with me, which is basically 350 of virtually every info marketer in the real estate space was all at this one event. And talk a little about that.
Eddie, one of the things that I think that I learned the most of is it doesn't matter that what you create is not 100% unique. I was surprised at how many people just kind of, it's like cookie cutter, and they take things from other people that they really like, and they put that together, and it kind of looks like, it used to be if you weren't original, then you weren't going to be successful. That is not the way it is on the internet anymore. And I thought that was really, that really kind of clicked in my head that it's okay that it looks a little more cookie cutter and doesn't have to have all the flash and the bling.
Video, video, video,
Absolutely.
video, video.
And retargeting, I don't know if everybody knows what retargeting is, But basically, hopefully many of you saw NoteExpo ads. If you'd already bought, you would not. So the key to that is, in retargeting, is that you pay for ad space, but you really only pay for it when someone clicks on the advertisement. So when you're looking on Google and you see all those ads that come up, if you don't click on them, they don't pay for it. So they're seeing you out there, but they're not actually, you're not paying for them to see you over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And that's something we can beat up on a Water Cooler Wednesday conversation, right?
definitely. It's a good topic.
Facebook does it too.
Yeah. So, Susan, I wanted you to just kind of talk about real quick the difference between marketing on Facebook versus Google.
Okay, so they're getting tighter on some of the things that they allow, but Facebook, you can place an ad and you can try to find like a target person demographically, and they'll try to advertise only to that demographic. And retargeting is, once they look at it, it keeps reminding them and showing you that ad over and over again. What I like about Google retargeting, and they have what's called programmatic marketing, is what it's doing is the same thing, but it's doing it on every one of the web browsers out there, not just Google. So Facebook only does Facebook, but everybody else is out searching on a search engine on the internet, and those retargeting ads, I think, just puts it in front of the people more and more.
All right, so something else I want to talk about real quick, Susan, is that we do in NoteSchool a lot. So NoteSchool has had already this year about 75 people that we label as ninjas. And that means that they're a real estate investor that's a full-time guy, probably bought more than 50 houses this year. Most of them bought more than 100. We've already seen 75 of them in the class this year. So the guys that don't sign up for membership, how do we market to them after? How do we stay in front of them? And what we do is we use a heavy amount of text. Sending something to a real estate investor that's not text is a waste of time, right? They don't open that email. I'm telling you, they don't even understand email, right? They text. And one thing that you can do a lot of in text is send little videos. And so send 60-second or less videos, and unslick is what you want. Absolutely. You don't want slick. And we just have learned that over and over and over. So we have a full-time videographer, Adam, that you see walking around with us, and he's here and helps us with this stuff a lot. But Adam is like a trained videographer, and Adam wants like perfect, and we're always like, no, Adam, we actually don't want perfect, right? And so just understand that this is what the market kind of attracts and does, and everything that you do, if you're trying to buy direct mail from from seller financing, you know, you're going to use text as much as you're going to use. And then, by the way, every house buyer in the business does this today, right? So they're sending out little videos and things like that. Hey, I'm here with Martha. We just signed a contract on her house. She had a similar story to yours. Martha, tell them about what it was like what it felt like when you signed the contract on the house. And Martha goes, it was wonderful. All right, see you later.
Yeah. So I guess just to wrap that up there, know your audience that you're marketing to, right? If they're tech-centric, work that angle, right?
Don't be afraid to try them all, though.
Right. If you're
Figure
doing
out
direct
what
mail
they are.
to somebody for a seller finance note, work on that. And then once you get them, then maybe you follow up with the text. There's different ways to tie in email, text, direct mail, do it all. I know we kind of cut this short, but we do have, Eddie, we got to blow through a little bit of this presentation here before we take a break. So you guys can stay right here. Eddie may need to chime in here, but Eddie, you want to talk a little bit about the membership and what we got coming up?
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some of you guys progressing in different ways and what that can look like. The first thing is I want to remind you that, man, I think the calls this year are the best we've ever had in NoteSchool, and I really want to compliment all you guys. We're just very grateful. You really don't realize this unless you sit in our seat, but like, you know, when you wake up and it's Monday afternoon and, you know, 5 o'clock and you're like, oh gosh, nobody had any submissions. And we just have had very little of that. Now, we've always got something we can do in the meantime, but I think our Monday, Tuesday calls, I really want to compliment you on that. And I think the level of the content and what you guys share in the issues you need help with and how that becomes contagious to helping somebody else is really a big thing. And then I want to really compliment Joe on Water Cooler Wednesday. I think Water Cooler Wednesday, Joe has done a fantastic job of bringing in really the playbook and execution of the playbook. And the most profitable thing that we are 100% certain that you can do for your business is find long-term, inexpensive capital. And so that was really a big focus that we had starting into 2019, and I think you guys have really helped that. And Joe, I want to really compliment you and thank you. You have done an awesome job, and Joe has some killer reviews or things that you could go back and look at on the playbook. So if you're new, there's some cool, good stuff that Joe has taped relative to going through the playbook and really utilizing the playbook as its full-out potential. And Joe did a great job of that. And one thing is, you know, just so you guys get a sense, because we do see this some, and people are trying to put the wrong topic on the wrong day. And so I'm pretty anal about this because I just think it's a part of structure and discipline, and that is that we have the right thing on the right day. So these are available to you guys, and there should be one of these posted on the membership site, so it really just gives you an idea of what we can cover on different days. And so this is just a tool, it's just a guide so we can help it. And but if I was grading like something I think NoteSchool really saw as a big improvement this year, and it's because of you guys, was what we were able to cover on the content. Kevin Moore, great job fueling that, and you're behind the scenes every week really feeling that. So thank you. You guys give Joe and Kevin a hand, please. It's easy to look like a rock star from my perspective when you got real rock stars that's making you look good, and these guys make us look great. And thank you for that. And Kevin, I couldn't say enough about the liaison desk and how people respond to that, and you've really taken excellent ownership of that, and I appreciate that. All of us do. That's great. So we're able to really play back a lot of things that Kevin hears on the liaison side and play that back to you guys on the calls. So I think we've really, we decided we wanted to make that better, raise it up a level, and I think we've done a good job of that this year, and I give you guys the credit for it, and obviously Joe and Kevin. And let's talk about ascending. Right, so we developed the Titanium program after we had developed a lot of the other membership program. And so I want to talk a little bit about those of you that aren't a Titanium and what that's about and why we think that makes a difference, because we're always trying to help you figure out how to ascend in the business and get better. So one of the things that Bob sees, because he does look at the numbers, is Titaniums dominate buying assets. I mean, not even a close second. They totally dominate, and they get first look at the assets on Notes Direct. And then secondly, they get waived fees. So they get waived fees plus substantial preferred pricing Ben thinks that's probably worth about 2,000 plus bucks a deal, so I think that's a lot of money. And so, you know, I think that's a result of being a titanium. It's a big benefit. Let me just tell you something, and I want to ask you guys, if you've been to an office visit, raise your hand. And so I think you can attest for all of you that haven't, the guys that haven't been to an office visit, the office visit is just straight up special, right? It is straight up special. And the office visit is not Eddie for 3 days. You get to hang out with these guys plus a couple of more, and they come sit down with you and are able to talk about your business. And there is a brand new student probably needs to get in the groove a little bit and get ready for an office visit, because we're going to try to take you to a different level. And so doing the liaison piece and being able to do what Kevin sees as kind of essentials is kind of a first thing. But the office visit is just awesome. And we're really excited to have all you guys that come. And that's part of being a titanium. And then the other thing that is the titanium is we have special events. And obviously we had a special event last night. And so then the other thing is we have the Titanium Mastermind. And the Titanium Mastermind is a once-a-year thing that we do just for titaniums. We usually pick a subject every year and make it a focus. We've done that for every year we've had the titanium. We've done different things. And I really just feel like it's constantly ascending somebody at a deeper level of thinking and a progression in the business. So I'll make a commitment to you guys. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that you can progress and add to your business. If you're not a titanium, you can add that to your business. And the other thing that I'm going to talk about at the end is I'm going to talk about adding the mastermind to your business, right? The Note Pro Mastermind. So we'll make an absolute commitment to you guys that you can come sign up at the booth. We're not going to put a hard sales pitch on you. We just want to talk to you about it. And that is our absolute commitment to you. Don't be scared of coming and sitting down and talking to us, because we're just having a conversation. And that's exactly the nature and the flavor of how it'll be treated. And obviously the Notes direct asset for the titanium is a big deal. And then you're also going to have a reset to start with Kevin again. And you're going to be able to have, if you're progressing from a platinum or a diamond to a titanium, then you're going to be looking at, where you're at now and discuss what kind of your goals and focuses are and resources. And then Kevin is going to be able to move you up from there. And then obviously there's our office in South Lake, Texas. And the 3-day office visit, I just would tell you, lights out. It's just been the funnest thing that we've ever done. It is a significant expense to us to do, because I have a bunch of high-paid people that spend a bunch of time with you guys over 3 days. And so it's a significant commitment for us, but it's worth it. And it's always fun, and there's obviously dates that you can see coming up that you can do that. So one of the things that we were able to do in the past is that we have said this for several years, and that is, we said, after 2 years, then there's a renewal every year. And then if you're a platinum, 2 years, and if you're a diamond, it's 3 years, and if you're a titanium, it's 4 years. And so what we've not done is we've never sent invoices out. And it's just pure a matter of the accountants and the P&L that says we got to do it, right? And so I hope you have been appreciative of our benevolence in the past, because we haven't sent out the invoices, but it's just time that we got to do it. And so you will be getting an invoice, and once again, if that's 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, depending on when you signed up. So that'll be coming up. It's a $1,500 annual renewal, and it pays for things like today and tonight, and a lot of technology and things that when you join we didn't have, and we're continuing to add things to the business. So it just helps us continue to run a business and stay profitable. And so if you join in 2017, if you're a diamond and you join in 2016, or if you're a titanium and you join in 2015. Susan's decided at this point, and that may change, but we're not going to try to nail it down to the month. We're just going to do it on an annual basis, and So it's just kind of easier to keep up with. And so we'll be sending out the annual renewal if you signed up prior to those dates. And then that's going to be December 31st, and so that'll be for $1,500. So that will be something that we add going forward. We probably should have done this probably 5 years ago, and we just didn't. And so we've tried to be very benevolent, and but we're just down to a point now where the accountants are going, guys, you just can't do this forever. So we've had this in the slides, we've had it in presentations for membership for years and years and years, and so we're just at a point where this is the year that we need to add that. So we have added something really significant to NoteSchool this year, and that is we have added a mastermind. So we have an executive mastermind, and that is for real advanced people. And there are some really advanced people that are in there. We have a number of people that have created between 500 and mega thousands of notes that are in the mastermind. So this isn't this is a very high level, and we have I couldn't say enough about the mastermind or how it works. And we have a mastermind that'll be coming up. We have a little review of that'll be Sunday, and we'll be glad to talk to you about it. We're so easy to get along with the mastermind that we'll let you come and put up $1,000 and we'll just come see if you're a fit. At the end of the mastermind, if you're a fit, you pay the difference. And if you're not, if you decide it's not a fit, then no hard feelings. And that's literally how it is. So we're trying to be as easy as we can. This is not training, okay? NoteSchool's membership is putting a layer of paint on every week, right? That's training. This is a mindset. It's a brain trust. And Richard, the brain trust with those guys in the room it's got some magic to it, right? If that is where you are to ascend your business, this is really something you ought to consider. There is no other, in my view, really high-level note mastermind that's available anywhere. It's just not done. And so we wanted to have kind of two levels. There is a very advanced level, which is the executive, and then there's the Note Pro level, which are people that aren't as successful, haven't done as many deals. But once again, we wanted to be able to share this in a way of having a brain trust. So these are things that you can talk to us about. We'll absolutely commit to, whether it's upgrading from from where you are to a titanium, or considering doing the mastermind. We have staff, and they're going to be here with you this weekend. But everybody fully understands we don't want it to be like you come to NoteExpo and you're going to get hustled, because that's never been our style, and it won't be our style, but it darn sure won't be our style this weekend. So just sit down and talk to us. There's going to be an easy process at our booths to talk about that. We'd just love to visit with you and just see if possibly there's a fit. So what else?
That's going to take us to our break, but just to kind of piggyback on what he said, starting tomorrow in the exhibit hall, we will have a NoteSchool booth, a Note Pro Mastermind booth, and a Notes Direct booth. You can meet Kevin. Well, Kevin won't be there. You can meet Ben and Joe, Scott and Derek, Charles. They'll all be there if you want to talk. I know Charles didn't get to say much on the panel and submit his question.
Charles is going to have a little special session. He's going to sit up here during the break, and you guys come up here and come around here, and you can just hammer Charles with 1,700 questions.
But set up a time during the NoteExpo to visit with these guys. Obviously, Susan will be going full speed, so trying to ask her a title question the next couple of days, I'd just say no. All right, so
I'll say email it to me.
Right. Martha will always want to hear if you want to buy partials or something. Just come talk to her, and Ryan will find you.
All right.
All right, 15 minutes, 3:20. Please be back. Eddie's going to do the magic of creative financing. We'll see you at 3:20.